Now, someone else who had a great win on Saturday, bit of a strange one, but nevertheless, she looked good in every way that she was supposed to. And she is going to have, I'm sure, a lot to say about her future as well as that 145-pound division. It is the one and only, some of the best tattoos in the game, no less. Megan Anderson joins us on the hotline now. Megan, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, Megan. I want to ask you about your tattoos later, but for the moment, let's get to that win. That was a strange one, huh? You've had a chance to process it now. Turns out Cat Zingano will be okay in the end. But you ever seen anything like that?
No, I've never seen anything like that, and it definitely was strange. But Mark Goddard is one of the best in the business, and when it all happened, I looked to him to see what he was going to do, because the way that Cat kind of looked away, I knew something wasn't right. I knew she was hurt. I didn't know what had happened, and I kind of turned to him, and he was telling her the fight's still going. You got to fight back. And I was like, okay, well, I got to do my job. Like, I can't exactly just stop if he's telling me to keep going. So, it's unfortunate circumstances. I really feel like I wanted to showcase a lot more of what I'm capable of. But, a win is a win, and we're happy to finally get that win in the UFC. And
For sure.
I'm glad that Cat's going to be okay.
Yeah, of course. I can't imagine you got any blowback for it, but social media can be weird. Did you get any weird responses?
Yeah, so many.
Really?
There was a significant amount of hate. I got a lot of, "Oh, you're a piece of shit," like all this kind of stuff. I got stuff about, "Oh, you need to cut your toenails or your nasty ass nails," and shit like this. I was like, well, okay. Anyone who in the business knows that, like, they check you like 2 times before you even go out, and then they check you at the cage. So I feel like if something was wrong, they would have told me the 3 freaking times that they checked me, and they were just like, "Oh, you're all good, you're fine." I got "Oh, that's not a win. You shouldn't be proud of that." I'm like, well, that's not my decision. I threw a legal blow that happened to land in a weird spot, and I got the win from that. Like, a win is a win. And if Kat wants to run it back, I'm happy to give it to her. It's not a problem. But it's at the end of the day, I have that win on my record, and I put in a lot of hard work and a lot of time into that. And no matter what people on the internet say, like, I'm going to be proud of that performance, because if you've watched any of my fights, that combination that I threw is very common, and I have landed that a lot of times, and I've finished fights with that combination. So, if Kat didn't have her hands up, then she didn't really do her homework very well, because that's a very common combination for me to throw.
I was just about to say, if you're at all familiar with your Invicta record and Invicta tape, this is a common thing. In fact, on the highlight reel they used to show the fight, I think you land 2 of those.
Yep. Yes, I've used it against Amanda Bell. I used it against Librock. I used it to finish Charmaine Tweed as well, who did the exact same thing. She turned away, faced away from the cage. From me was, had her face in the cage, and the ref stopped it. I've had that happen to me. I've had that move, like, executed, 3 times now, like, just finishing fights. So, I obviously wasn't aiming for her eyeball. So, like, I was getting a lot of shit for that. "Oh, you're a dirty cheater," and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure anyone who is in the sport knows that, like, when you kick someone and you aim for someone's face, like, the last thing you're thinking about is trying to poke them in the friggin' eyeball. And the rules is what it is. But if they want a rematch, we're more than happy to give it to them if that's what they want.
Fair enough. Let's move on from that particular contest for just a little. Oh, actually, you know what? One more about that. What was the game plan for her, if I can ask?
I think for us it was more of, like, just getting in there and just reacting. We put a lot of time and effort into, working on my wrestling and stuff like that. And I definitely wanted to showcase that because Cat obviously is known more as a wrestler than, a striker. But I think people don't really realize when they get in with me that my range is not the normal range. Like my range is like 6 inches longer than like what my arms are. Like I make it awkwardly long, and my movement is different. And people don't realize that until they're in there with me. And I don't think she really understood that, and she didn't really know how to bridge the gap to get into the clinch.
All right, so that takes us now to the other women's featherweight fight on that card. I'll just throw it to you in this particular way. Amanda Nunes is now the champion in that weight class.
Yep.
What did you make of what happened?
That was an amazing fight. Holy shit. We're all in the green room fucking yelling and just like that was Amanda. That's what Amanda needed to do. Like, that was her key to victory. She had to make Cris respect her power. She did that.
Were you surprised it was that short?
No. Cris comes out very aggressively. She always does. And when you come out aggressively, you kind of leave yourself open to it. If you come up against someone with power, it's that whole kind of like you hit if you're driving a car and you hit another moving car, like both those two moving forces are coming together, and it's going to make the explosion a lot bigger. And that's kind of what happens with someone like Cris, who crashes ridiculously hard.
What's interesting is this puts you in with the controversy of the fight, so to speak, the one you had, and with the quickness of that one. Number one, do you think you should get a chance to fight Amanda next? Number two, do you think you will?
I hope that I do get the chance to fight Amanda next. Do I think I will? Probably not. I have no idea what's in store for me next. I would love to fight Amanda. I love that fight. I would love to fight Cris as well. And if people feel like I need to fight Cat again and prove myself, then I'll fight her as well. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen next, and I think it makes for an interesting 2019.
It certainly does. I don't know if you saw this. Well, actually, let me ask you in a bit of a different way. Is Amanda winning at 145 good for 145 or bad for 145?
Actually, I think it's good. I think Chris's she was on like a 21 fight win streak or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think her invincibility is what made it hard for people to want to stay in this division, because she was so dominant. And I have believed for a while that if Cris was to lose, or if she was to not fight anymore, I feel like the division would flourish, because I honestly think people are scared to fight her, and that's why they don't stay in this division. And I think with Amanda showing that there are, people out there that have, potential, and that they can, that not everyone is invincible, it kind of, I hope, shows people that they can, stay in this division and start building it.
Did UFC say anything to you about what they want for you in this next year?
Nope. I have not heard anything.
Yeah, well, that's not uncommon necessarily. Here's the one thing that was weird, and I'll give credit to where I saw it first. I believe Zane Simon, who is a writer for Bloody Elbow, pointed this out. If you go to the rankings page for the UFC, Megan, UFC.com/rankings, they have removed altogether the Cyborg and the women's featherweight division. Now, I don't know what that means. It could be nothing. The site has been retooled recently, but do you make anything of that?
You know what? If they dissolve the division, they dissolve the division. They haven't really made it very obvious that they're wanting to build it, considering their tough season. They're not signing anyone, and the ones that they're signing them to 135. So, if they're going to dissolve it, then just tell us.
Yeah, I suppose. Last question on Amanda. Like, what's the key to beating her? We just had her coach on here, and obviously a coach is going to believe in the highest level of what their athlete can do. But his point was, she can play all the levels in terms of striking, backing up, going forward, that kind of a thing. When you assess what Amanda's good at, what do you have to take away from her to win?
I think with Amanda is she does tend to get a little bit wild with her strikes. She does tend to loop a little bit, so I think those long range punches down the middle, and I think a kicking game, like a high volume kicking game, would work very well against her.
Interesting. Before we go, and I appreciate your time, Megan. Here, I noted on Twitter that MMA is full of. Look, I think most tattoos are bad. Just generally, most people are not very good at doing them, and most people pay poor money for them. You might be the one or one of the very few exceptions for that. Here's the question that matters the most to me. How much money have you paid for those tattoos?
I have no idea. A lot of my like my sleeves and some of the stuff on my leg I got done by one of my friends back home in Australia. So he obviously didn't charge me full price. So that was nice, but it is a lot of money.
Every fighter I talk to, like you or TJ Dillashaw, who has good tattoos, they all have a guy who does it for either
Yeah.
free or reduced price. How do I get a guy? Because I don't have one.
I don't know. I guess it's just finding that connection.
Yeah, well,
Like someone that kind of like knows you and knows your style. Like with my guy Zach, he like I kind of just gave him like an outline of what I wanted, and I was just like, okay, just kind of like go with it, do whatever, and he come up with it, and I'm happy with it. So
yeah, it's quality work. Before you go, what is the plan? First quarter back? Like I would imagine after a short fight like that, you don't really have any injuries, right?
yeah, I do not have any injuries, and I definitely would like to fight in the first quarter of next year. And you know what? I just really hope that I've proven to the UFC that, and I hope that I can use my platform to show them that there are stars being built in this division, that there are people that are marketable, that is, that they can use and build with and fight and put on performances, albeit controversially. But I really hope that they, start signing some featherweights and then they do really start to invest in this division.
There you go. Couldn't say it better myself. Megan, congrats on the win. Whatever else people say about it, it was legitimate, and can't wait to see what happens in 2019. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, guys. Happy New Year.